By the time the sheriff's deputies finished laughing at the golf cart with a flashing orange light bar, 3 HOA officers were lined up against my barrel room wall hands where the deputies could see them, clipboards confiscated like they were carrying loaded weapons. That scene right there, I swear, looked like something out of a low-budget sitcom. Except my business was on the line. One of the officers, a guy with a buzz cut and a shiny plastic badge that said, "Compliance Enforcer," I kid you not, started stammering about how my vineyard was out of code. The deputy gave him a long, level stare, then looked over my shoulder at the acres and acres of grapevines rolling down my hillside. "You do know this is agricultural county land, right?" the deputy finally said. "Outside your HOA, outside city limits, outside your tiny little kingdom." Behind me on the patio, maybe 30 guests froze mid-sip, all eyes darting between the spectacle and their wine flights, not quite sure if they were supposed to be entertained or nervous. Meanwhile, Lorraine Dorset, the HOA president herself, stood next to her tricked-out golf cart, arms crossed, lips so thin you could cut glass on them. "He refused to pay the violation fines," she hissed. "He refuses to paint his barn the approved taupe. We had to escalate." I took a slow, deliberate sip of my Panino. "Never let them see you sweat, right?" I said, as calm as I could manage. "I told you before, Lorraine, I'm not in your HOA. The deputy raised the stack of citations. Now he said, "You're all under investigation for trespassing, impersonating security, and interfering with a licensed agricultural business." The color drained from Lorraine's face until she was about the shade of an overripe Merlot. "So, introductions. My name's Marcus Hale. I'm 42, ex-mechanical engineer turned vineyard owner. I run Hale Ridge Vineyard, about 40 acres just outside Morrow Creek, California. 5 years ago, this place was just scrub brush and a broken-down barn. I put everything I had into turning it around, replanted the fields, rebuilt the barn from the ground up, even added a little tasting patio. My dream was simple: grow good grapes, make honest wine, mind my own business. But here's the thing. My nearest neighbors live in Willow Crest Estates, one of those master-planned communities with matching beige mansions and more bylaws than sense. Their HOA and my vineyard share a fence line. That's it. Their authority ends right at my wire fence. But try telling that to Lorraine Dorset. Lorraine, 50-something laser-cut Bob Power, walks at 6 a.m., sharp runs Willow Crest like it's the Vatican. She got it into her head that my vineyard was part of the Willow Crest experience. It looked good on their brochures, homes overlooking a working vineyard, but she didn't like that the vineyard was mine, not hers. It all started with a letter. "Dear Mr. Hale, as your property forms a visible backdrop to Willow Crest, your vineyard must comply with our scenic corridor standards. Maximum vegetation height 3 feet. I sent it back with a sticky note. "Not a member. Not under your HOA. Please stop." The second letter threatened fines. I ignored it. That's when the residents started flying drones over my property, getting real creative about it. One crashed into my fermentation tank, so I set it on my tasting bar with a note that said, "Lost property claim proof of humility required." Next came the patrols, golf carts with Willow Crest security magnets rolling slow beside my driveway inspecting my vines. Then they started stopping my guests. "Are you residents? Do you have your community pass?" The HOA requires reservations. Thing is, my driveway is county maintained. There's no such rule. But when someone in a badge-adjacent outfit gives you the evil eye, you start to wonder. One couple turned around and left me a 1-star review about weird security check-ins. Thanks for that. But the final straw, a bright yellow notice taped to my barn. $500 for unauthorized agricultural equipment visible from the street, $250 for light pollution, $750 for an unauthorized event. They'd itemized my tractor as visual pollution. I called Lorraine right away. "Take my property out of your system. I don't answer to you. If your people step foot on my land again, I'm calling the sheriff." She laughed. Actually laughed. "Marcus, your vineyard is part of our view corridor. Your choices affect property values. You can't just opt out. If you won't be reasonable, we have other ways." I'll admit I asked, probably shouldn't have. "What other ways?" she said. "We have our own enforcement, and we're not afraid to use it." 2 weeks later, I found out exactly what our own enforcement meant. It was a Saturday afternoon peak season. I had a small wedding booked, 60 guests, rented chairs, acoustic guitar, floral arch permits, All filed, parking approved, every I dotted. The bride was halfway down the aisle when 3 golf carts came rolling in, lights flashing. They stopped lined up right there, like it was D-Day for wedding crashers. 4 HOA volunteers in matching navy polos and duty belts with radios and clipboards. I intercepted them by the barn. "What do you think you're doing?" I said. The lead guy, Buzzcut, slid down his sunglasses. "Code enforcement. We had reports of an unauthorized event." Lorraine sat in the cart behind him, writing notes like a general reviewing battle plans. He held up a laminated badge. "This gives us authority to inspect noise levels. We can shut you down." Lorraine smirked. "Per our bylaws, we can abate nuisances affecting the association." I told them point blank, "The association ends at my sign. Turn around." Instead, they started snapping photos of the guests of the bride, then marched onto the lawn and told the DJ to cut the music pending inspection. The music died right in the middle of the processional. The bride spun around, rage and confusion all over her face. I was already dialing the sheriff. "Hi, this is Marcus Hale on Old Vineyard Road. I've got an HOA security team trespassing on my licensed event, harassing guests. They won't leave." "Officers are en route," the dispatcher said. Meanwhile, Lorraine made everything worse. She told the wedding planner loud enough for everyone to hear, "This event is not authorized. You're all subject to fines if you don't disperse." Someone in the crowd yelled, "We don't live there." That's when the county fire marshal pulled up big red truck lights off. But you could feel the authority. Lorraine had filed a complaint about blocked access roads and unpermitted events. The marshal took one look at my clearly marked exits, then another look at the fake cops blocking my driveway, and his whole mood changed. "Who's in charge of that circus?" he demanded. They all pointed at Lorraine. When the sheriff's deputies finally showed, one asked me, "You got cameras?" "Oh, buddy, did I ever." I pointed at the barn and tasting room. "Audio and video. Whole thing's recorded." The deputy grinned. "Beautiful." The HOA enforcement team got sent home with a stern lecture that day. But the real trouble was just beginning. See fake badge patrols with uniforms and strobes. That's catnip for county council and liability lawyers. My attorney, Mr. Salgado, was practically purring when he saw the footage. "They're not just trespassing," he said. "They're interfering with your business, your contracts, your alcohol license, all in uniform with badges." He shook his head. "Their HOA insurance is going to sprint away when they see this." Within a week, the county sheriff opened a file for impersonation of peace officers. The state started looking into their patrol as an unlicensed security company. The fire marshal filed a report, hazards created by HOA officers blocking emergency access. Salgado fired off a demand letter, written apology, written policy, acknowledging no jurisdiction, cease and desist on patrols and drones, compensation for disruption, or we'd file suit for 6 figures. Lorraine wrote back, "We will not be bullied by a selfish landowner. You benefit from our property values. We will not apologize." So we filed suit, trespass, business interference, defamation. When the HOA turned it over to insurance, the company took one look at the footage and responded, "Coverage denied. Actions outside scope of documents." Everything snapped. The HOA was left with a lawsuit, no insurance, and a president who'd orchestrated the whole circus. Board members started resigning. Residents wanted to know why there was $8,000 in patrol equipment and litigation reserves on their statements. Then the sheriff came back with paperwork. Buzzcut and his officers cited for trespassing. The patrol chief charged with misdemeanor impersonation. Lorraine got a fat envelope explaining the potential charges for false complaints and misusing emergency services. The climax came in a packed courtroom on the left, me in my clean boots. Salgado at my side, binders stacked high. On the right, Lorraine in her navy blazer and a pearl necklace so tight it looked like a stress indicator. The judge watched our footage, high-def video of golf carts rolling past my no trespassing signs, officers announcing they were shutting down my event, Lorraine declaring, "We have enforcement authority here, whether he likes it or not." Salgado laid it out step by step, my permits, the county zoning showing I'm outside the HOA, the HOA's own documents saying nothing about jurisdiction beyond their fences, the patrol budget paid for by residents, the false complaints Lorraine filed. The judge raised an eyebrow at Lorraine's lawyer. "You dressed volunteers in uniforms, put flashing emergency lights on vehicles, created fake citations, and attempted to shut down a permitted event on land you do not own. This is not concerned citizen behavior. This is delusional governance." I could feel every eye in the room on Lorraine, and for once she had nothing to say. The judgment came down. HOA ordered to pay substantial damages for business interference enough to fund my brand new barrel room. They had to reimburse the wedding couple, issue a written apology, and a permanent injunction barred Willowcrest HOA from ever entering my property again. The safety program was shut down by court order. No more uniforms, no badges, no strobes. The ex-chief took a plea, community service and probation for impersonating security and trespassing. The judge even ordered a court-appointed monitor to oversee the HOA for 2 years, reviewing every enforcement action, every budget, every line of communication. And Lorraine? She lost her little empire. As part of settling and avoiding even harsher penalties, Willowcrest had to fund a permanent agricultural easement on my land, meaning HOA dues went to making sure my vineyard could never be bulldozed for more houses. The vines are forever now. The total damages ended up over $90,000, not counting the easement or their own legal fees. When the judge read the terms, Lorraine's face went sheet white. Her hands gripped the table so hard her knuckles turned the color of copy paper. She opened her mouth, closed it. As the gavel came down, she just sat there staring at the paperwork like it was written in ancient Greek. Her perfect control, her empire, her fake police force, all gone just like that. Thing is, every so often I'll see a Willowcrest resident out on their back deck, wine glass in hand, looking out over the vines, my vines. I wonder if they ever think about how close they came to losing this view because of one person's need to control everything. So tell me, was justice served? Or was this just another HOA horror story with a happy ending? For once, drop your thoughts below, and if you've ever tangled with a power-hungry HOA or had to fight for what's yours, I want to hear it. Share your story. Hit like if you think local bullies need to get put in their place, and don't forget to subscribe for more wild tales from the edge of the fence line. You know what I mean?